It's time for Tycoons of Small Biz, spotlighting the true backbone of the American economy, the true tycoons of business in America, the owners, founders, and CEOs of small businesses. The show's hosts, Austin Peterson and Landon Mance, are registered representatives of Lincoln Financial Advisors Corporation, a broker-dealer member SIPC, and registered investment advisor. The views expressed by your hosts, Austin and Landon, are not necessarily the views of Lincoln Financial Advisors. Let's lean in as Austin and Landon connect with this week's Tycoons.
Good afternoon, Tycoons, and welcome to today's episode of Tycoons of Small Biz. I'm your host, as always, Austin Peterson, coming to you live this week from Park City, Utah. And I must tell you, it is absolutely gorgeous here, very green. The mountains are incredible. So I wish I was outside enjoying the mountains, but instead I'm here with you guys and I'm excited to do that as well. And I'm always joined by my co-host, the best co-host in the business, Landon Mance from Las Vegas, Nevada. Landon, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir.
You bet. And so before we get to our guest today, just wanted to get this out there real quick. If this is the first time you're listening to Tycoons of Small Biz, we encourage you, obviously, to find us on your favorite podcast platform and like and subscribe, as well as our YouTube channel. But we are a business radio program or a podcast that's put together by small business owners for small business owners. Landon and I are both small business owners. We're partners in a wealth management firm, and we're based in Las Vegas and Scottsdale, Arizona. And we come from entrepreneurial families as well. So it's kind of in our blood. And we put together this program about a year and a half ago to give small business owners an opportunity to tell their story, come in here, share some advice. And we certainly have some tycoons on the show today. We're excited to have Jonathan Brooks, President, and Rhett Doolittle, CEO of Business Warrior. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much.
Great to be here.
Yeah, excited to talk to you guys. So before we jump into the business side of things, we always have our guests tell a little bit about themselves personally. Gives us some insight into your background and how you kind of got to where you are. So Jonathan, why don't you go first? Tell us a little bit about where you grew up, if you have a family, kids, any of that kind of stuff, and then just kind of what led you to this journey today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a good Midwestern guy. I grew up in Wichita, Kansas, and I lucked out when I was 19 years old, and I started out as an intern for a big telecom called Cox Communications, and ended up just having a cool journey over 15 years, doing a bunch of different roles within corporate America. But through my wife, I met Rhett, and Rhett and I just had a very infamous dinner one time over sushi, where we talked a lot about our values and at the end of the day, what's happening with small businesses in America. And, I had the benefit of a big company, big dollars, and small businesses don't always have that chance. So hearing Rhett's story and hearing what Rhett had gone through, I think he had 10 years on me at that point in terms of fighting for, several thousand small businesses on his own right. I was inspired to join up with him and to become the Business Warrior team that we are today. So ended up having a small business marketing agency with them. And then, we had this great idea of scaling up with software and solving a much bigger problem across the United States. And that's where Business Warrior is today. So I'm married. I have a lovely wife. I don't have kids, although we're in process of that. So it'll be an exciting time over the next couple of years for us. But I'm looking forward to not only today, but, again, just thank you guys so much. And I'll kick it over to my partner, Rhett.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, on the baby making front, I'm a strong believer in practice makes perfect.
Yes, I got to say that it's a good thing, man.
For me, I grew up in Northern California, Niners fan. Jonathan's a Chiefs fan, so we have that to talk about.
Go Chiefs.
Grew up in Northern California, ended up going to Arizona State and staying there. I also joined the telecom venture after college and went to work for AT&T, and always had a gut feeling that I was just kind of meant for something bigger and do something bigger, and was just really sick of the red tape at working at a big Fortune 100 company, but just didn't know what that opportunity was or when, but kind of always had a feeling like I was gonna pull the trigger when the time was right. So eventually I did. Ended up starting a credit card processing company. That's what that Inc. 500 poster is up there. We reached number 18 on the Inc. 500 fastest growing companies in the United States, number 1 in Arizona. It was a great run. But like Jonathan said, went through some serious battles ourselves, funding it ourselves, getting outside funding, scraping it together, having our money stolen and going down to zero and having to start all over again, going through that and then doing it all over again. So sold that company, relaunched this company, and kind of going through all that again, thinking like, man, I'm never going to have to go through that ever again after, taking some cash after the first one. But we did, but now it's just that much better. So the one thing that I've always had a passion for is helping small businesses. So even in the credit card processing industry, it was, trying to find how we could find a way how we could help these small businesses save money. But that wasn't that sexy or exciting to me. It was like, yeah, you're going to save whatever, 10, 20, even a couple $100 a month. Is that really moving the needle for their business? No, but what along the way, I traveled all over the United States, met with hundreds of small business owners in person, had a sales staff all over the country, and went out and met with had so many appointments with my sales guys, 30 sales guys over the country, and just saw over and over and over again what made small businesses successful, and then what also was really holding them back from success. And I think the one thing that they all struggled with was, having an easy and predictable way to go find new customers. So when we launched this company, that was the number one goal, is trying to make it easy to find and acquire new customers. I also thought that just technology has just advanced so much that, not every small business needs to have thousands of dollars to spend like on a marketing agency to go do it for them. A lot of this can be done through technology, but they're afraid, or they've been burned, or maybe they tried technology, or they don't know it. So how do we break down that wall? So that was, that goal has always been since, the day one of launching this company, but it's really transformed over time since, we finally launched our own software a couple of years ago, and things really started to come to life. But that passion is there, helping that small business owner not just get by, not just pay his minimum payments on their credit card payments that they probably racked up to get the business started, but how do they really take that next stage to really grow and make it the business that they dreamed of and go back into their passion of when they really first started that business? How do they get back to that? So, that's what we're creating with Business Warrior.
Yeah, that's awesome. There's one thing, really maybe two things that I want to hone in on that you said that, maybe some of our listeners didn't pick up on, but it's interesting to me that you said, I felt like I was meant for something bigger, right? And the funny thing is, you guys both worked for very large organizations, but bigger to you means to go smaller, which I think is awesome. The reality is, I say it all the time, small business is big business. Like we believe, the name of our firm is Backbone Planning Partners, because the small business owner truly is the backbone of the American economy. Most people in this country work for a small business, not a large business. And most small businesses, and you kind of hit on this as well, Rhett, most small businesses don't fail because they don't have a good idea, or they don't have a good process or a good service, or they're not doing good work. They fail because they can't acquire enough customers or clients.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that that's awesome, and a great way for us to kind of kick this off. So I'll throw this question out to either one of you. Maybe both of you want to answer it, whoever wants to go first. But in your opinion, and what you guys are seeing in building this business and doing the things that you're doing, what is the current state of small businesses, right? We're kind of hopefully at the tail end of this worldwide pandemic, but just overall, you could talk about COVID-19, but just what's the current state of small businesses in your opinion in America?
I think one is we're seeing a huge increase in small businesses created. And obviously COVID was a huge factor in that, right? It's people really looked at their lives, their personal lives, and their business life. And do they want to go back to work in that job? Or is this kind of like, I think for a lot of them, it was a catalyst to either start something, make that switch. Maybe they got let go. Maybe they had some capital and like, now's the time. Maybe they're just starting a side hustle, but the stats are showing that there's just this huge increase in small businesses. So you have all these new businesses getting created, but then you still have a ton that are still figuring out how to make it. I would say overall, I'm still shocked at how many don't leverage technology to improve their business. So I think you have, I don't know if you want to call it millennials, but like that new business, and it's not really age-based, but there's that people that are kind of forward thinking and using technology. There's that still is the minority in small business owners. the vast majority we're still seeing do not leverage technology. They're still afraid of it. But also the people that leverage technology, they also think that like they can just kind of lean on some of the like technology, like automatic calendar appointments or social media posts or Google pay-per-click ads, but they don't have that grunt work of having to pick up the phone and make the sales calls. And so there's still this gap on, I think the ones that really succeed are the ones that figure out, the ones that, because you can't just, using all the technology in the world, get a high quality lead. But if you don't have the skills to pick up the phone and close that sale or make the appointment or deliver the products or have good follow-up service, then you're going to fail. So I still think that I hope that it's changing. There's so much technology, so many great solutions out there, not just ours. I mean, there's just a plethora of options for small business owners. But I hope that, this wave of new business owners comes around and that they really try to leverage technology, because it'll make a small business owner more profitable, more efficient, and not have to burn as much cash from the beginning.
And I think there's a kind of an interesting perspective around, it's like the digital divide. So there's almost the have and the have-nots of small business right now. The haves is what Rhett just mentioned. They've figured out how to leverage technology to propel their business. The have-nots, it's almost two buckets. You either have too much technology that you don't know what to do with, so then you just have all these tools and you're like, I still am not getting customers. Or they're afraid of technology and they're resistant to it. And I think what COVID showed a lot of small business owners is, leaning into technology is an okay, good thing, actually. Relying on foot traffic and somebody kind of stumbling into your store really is not going to happen that much anymore. Even with the return of businesses in America and, the vaccine and the mask and all that, there's still not the foot traffic that is going to be like the days of old. So you got to innovate on how you do that. And you got to innovate in the most, predictable and intelligent way without burning yourself out. I mean, Rhett and I joke, like, we have meetings, I think, every 30 minutes now, but it's because we're in build mode. We could be over inundated with technology, but we're choosing not to be. Like, we're taking a lot of steps for ourselves on mental health and creating the space and like being really careful with our time, because technology could completely overwhelm a business owner and you're not any more profitable or efficient. So I think, being aware of that's super key right now for a business owner.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I mean, everybody throws around this term Zoom fatigue, right? And I mean, we're on Zoom right now, right? But it is real. I mean, the reality is when this really kicked off, so I was using WebEx and Zoom prior to the pandemic, but not nearly as much as I use it now. And the first kind of few weeks of the pandemic, Landon and I were both in, proactive outreach mode to our clients to make sure that they knew, hey, we've got your back. We know what's going on. This was obviously unprecedented, but we did plan for this. And so because of that, we were literally back to back Zoom meetings, making sure that we're, staying in touch with our clients and they're seeing us face to face and feeling that calmness that can only be provided sometimes by that face-to-face interaction. And Zoom is kind of that next best thing. But I don't see us ever going back. I mean, Landon and I, in our own strategic plan, have by the end of 2022, the plan to have 90% of all of our meetings virtual. And there's a reason for that. It makes us more efficient and it makes our business owner clients more efficient. Just having to drive 30 minutes or an hour to each other's offices back and forth is a waste of energy and time that can be avoided by doing it on Zoom. And we're actually more efficient in sharing the data and the information with them that we want to share with them by being able to put it right on the screen in front of them, even compared to having a TV in our conference room, for example, with our clients.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, I think an interesting thing that we're seeing, and we put pressure on ourselves to simplify the software, is that put yourself in the shoes of somebody who works at a boutique and spends on their feet from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then now all of a sudden they're trying to plug in to understand, how do you go and launch a Facebook ad? How do you update my Google My Business? Like, they're exhausted by the time they get there at the end of the night, and yet it's still something they need to do. So helping them balance between being on the floor and being present as we reopen and small businesses reopen, and then still put focus on tech. I mean, I think that's going to be the next kind of great owner's leap is how do you get the best of both worlds without burning yourself out?
Yeah, agreed. And I want Landon to jump in here actually and talk a little bit about, you mentioned the boutique and specifically, retail boutiques or fashion or, those types of retail stores. It's a different animal. And the reality is we had a guest on our program who happens to be Landon's sister that owns a boutique fashion store in Long Beach, California. And she's done a phenomenal job of doing exactly that. And part of it was she was doing it prior to the pandemic, but maybe Landon can talk a little bit about what she's done. And I think you guys will appreciate that.
Yeah. So as partners, Austin, we don't just finish each other's sentences. He actually starts mine because I was just about to say something about that. Yeah. My sister started a women's clothing boutique about, I think it's been close to 10 years now, and started out from zero and has built it up to, a couple $1 million in revenue and very successful now. And she spent a lot of time inside of the store, and she had an online presence prior to COVID. I think her sales were about half and half roughly. And it was interesting because as COVID was unleashed upon us and she immediately adapted and pivoted her business to essentially 100% online, as we started to come out of it and I was having a conversation with her, I just said to her, tell me about the breakdown of your business, what's coming in person and what's coming through the online store. And she said something to the effect of, well, it's about 90% online. And I'm like, close down your store, close it down. This is the perfect opportunity for you. I mean, think about the headache that you'll save, the overhead that you'll save. Just keep your little warehouse and close down your storefront. And you'll get 10 hours of your life back every week. And she couldn't do it.
Well, I was going to say, you ready for an argument on that one? Because I mean, I think it's the experience of small business that still is the differentiator. Like,
yep.
I can't, test things on Amazon, but if I want something like good jeans, I go to the store. And I still think that. So I would argue, no, keep it open.
Yeah. So absolutely. And it's a valid argument. And to your point, or maybe Rhett said this, but it's how do we figure out that right mix of efficient technology and in-person experience, because there are pros and cons to both. I've got a client that owns several very well-known fast food chains, restaurants. Since COVID, they shut down the lobbies, and his business has, just exploded. The last couple of years with, the lobby being closed, everybody being forced to drive through, all of the meal delivery services, now that are available. And, he said, if it was up to me, I would close all of my lobbies permanently, because his business is operating so much more efficiently and the margins are so much better when people drive through as opposed to actually come into the store. But yeah, it's going to be so interesting to see how this all plays out and how this is going to, change. But
if you think what we're talking about, like we're talking about questioning whether they should have a retail store, right? Or a physical presence. The other way, just 2-3 years ago, it was, I'm doing fine with foot traffic. I can do, I can survive without Uber Eats, or now it's like, no, that's the standard. And the question is the other piece. Now that has completely shifted 100%. Same for us. COVID came and we shut down our office. We went all virtual. Now we've got, we're able to recruit all over the country and get amazing talent for, I wouldn't say less cost, but the talent that we need when we need it for in our budget. So we have employees in North Carolina, Texas, to Portland, Chicago, and Phoenix and Vegas. But do I think that we need an office again? Yeah, we get together and there's a lot of value to being in person. And I don't know if we even have the exact mix figured out yet. I would love to, ideally it would be like, yeah, there's, shared space and you go there once, twice a week. But how do you get somebody from North Carolina to come once, twice a week? You can't. So, we're kind of toying with the idea of doing quarterlies or that kind of thing. But it's definitely flipped for every business, even a restaurant. I mean, it's like, drive through, delivery. Now that was like a question. That's the standard now. It's totally flipped, which is interesting.
Yep, absolutely. So we've got a little bit of your guys' backgrounds. You guys have a lot of experience starting, running, even exiting out of some small businesses. And you've kind of alluded to what you guys are doing now, but break it down for us. Who's Business Warrior? What do you guys do? And tell us how you're helping small business owners.
Yeah, that's we have been through the whole the ringer a few times, but that's the great thing is we've really been in their shoes of every small business, and we really want to make it easier for a business to succeed. So it's pretty simple. You go on our website and you click to start, and it's a business just types in their business name, and right away we're pulling data about them. And this is just public information. So just using public information, we don't ask for much. So there's no commitment or anything like that. And then we're able to really find out what's holding them back from getting more new customers. We give them a score so they can track that score and how they're doing over time. And then not only do we show them the problems, but then we give them a pathway on how to fix it. They can either, if they know how to fix it themselves, great. Use our software. It's free. Use our software to verify that it's fixed. Watch your score go up over time. As your score goes up, you should be you set up better to get more new customers. Or if you don't know how to fix the issues that we identify, then we give you a path to either upgrade, and we'll give you step by steps, or you upgrade again and we'll fix it for you, and we'll launch a campaign and build a video for you and put it on Facebook and YouTube and those kind of things. So it's really it has all flavors, from the guy that's a side hustle business that just wants to do things on his own pace at his own time, to somebody that's ready to really just take their business to the next level and say, I need to launch a campaign. I need to do it the right way. And I need, my cost per lead to be less than what it is today. And, in under 45 days, we'll take them from 0 to 100 pretty easily.
And I think a special point to all this is there's so many business owners out there that have attempted to do advertising, or they think that if they, post on Instagram and they get a lot of followers or likes, it translates to revenue. Not really the case. There are definitely the lucky ones that nail it on Instagram, nail it on social media, and they definitely drive customers, right? That's absolutely a fact. But the real special sauce is, how do you thread the needle of getting a campaign or a marketing campaign out there and being able to look at the analysis on what's actually driving a customer from clicking your ad into your actual location or online. And that, the leap of logic, and that's something that we specialize in, but that leap of logic is something that we offer as part of our baseline platform, just to get them educated on. Because something like, Google Analytics, it's not a scary term. It's actually a really powerful way to understand how many people are visiting your website, how many people are then actually converting to the thing that you want them to convert. But let's face it, Google Analytics is super complicated and very messy to understand. I'm a marketer and I still look at it and I'm like, I don't know all the time what's going on. So, the business owner who I think about is then looking at Google Analytics at 8:00 at night. Her feet hurt. Is she really understanding what just happened on her website that day to get more traffic? No. So that's where we can step in and really just kind of be that guide and that coach, without charging these crazy amounts of monthly prices. So the thread the needle approach is something I think that's going to be even more important for customers and businesses to understand, because that's going to be a big part of how they get customers moving forward. Is not just launch an ad, but then the A/B testing, the analytics behind it. That's the really important secret sauce. So it's all iterative too. It's all just, it's changing about every 3 months. So it's hard to keep up.
We'll actually tell a business owner, stop spending money on social media on ads. You are not ready. Stop wasting your money. Let's get, that foundation built first, and then maybe relaunch in whatever, 30, 45 days. But that's a lot of times people are shocked. It's, well, are you getting any ROI? Do you know if you're getting an ROI? No? Okay, well, that's the place to start. How do you know where you're going if you don't know where you're at? And not only that, but our software, it tracks it. So we just are super transparent. So if we're doing the work, or if they're paying an agency, they should be able to see what's going on. I might get an ROI, but so many business owners I talk to, and they have no idea. How long have you been paying? I mean, this one I just talked to, paying a marketing company $1,500 a month for 6 months. And she doesn't think she's gotten a single conversion or sale from it, and doesn't know the traffic, doesn't know if it's improving month to month. She just gets fancy, imagery and things like that sent to her, every couple of weeks, but has no idea if it's worth the money or not. And that's just mind blowing to me. But that's how they're in the dark. And so at least she's trying. She's trying to leverage technology. So I give her that. At least she's trying to go get new customers. She hasn't figured it out yet. But, like we said in the beginning, it's the ones that figure out that right mix. You leveraging technology, being honest about what you're going to do yourself. And if you're not going to do it and stick with it and be consistent, then, pay somebody else to do it.
Right.
Sure.
So let's stay on this just for a second, and we'll kind of use this this woman that you mentioned kind of as a case study. So all those mistakes that you guys mentioned and things that business owners do, I've done pretty much all of them. I've learned a couple of things along the road. I'm a marketing person, just by my educational background, but not so much by my trade. But I understand marketing maybe just a teeny bit more than the average person, but not very much. So let's talk about this woman for a second. Okay, so she probably engaged this new team because she wanted to grow her business, but probably did not have any type of strategy around doing that. She just, like a lot of us, we go out, we say, okay, we need to have an online presence, we need to do ads, and we need to drive, engagement and traffic, and hopefully that's going to lead to some leads and opportunities for new business. But what we don't do is we don't look at the entire puzzle. So what happens is we've got these puzzle pieces that are floating out in oblivion. There's no coordination amongst them. And so ultimately they don't work. And then we get jaded because we don't get any, results from these strategies that we implement. So my question is, you guys obviously have some really powerful data at your fingertips when you're engaging these new customers or clients of yours. So what would you guys say, what are the top maybe 2 or 3 or 4 mistakes that people are making with their online presence? And how do you kind of help to bring these pieces together so that you can help them create that kind of that foundation that you alluded to?
I mean, I think the biggest mistake is people get excited about advertising, so they want to be everything to everybody. And they feel like, oh, if I just cast this wide net, and like for her, she has a salon, she does hair, she does eyebrows, she does lashes, she does facials. And like, well, yeah, but I can offer this to anybody. Like almost any woman could come in, but that's not how advertising works. That's how your website should work. Your website needs to have everything you do, the services, answer all the questions, frequently asked questions, what your address is and your phone number and your hours and about us and maybe some history. But when you're talking advertising, that's the biggest mistake I think people make is pick your top product or the one that you really want to go after and make your entire strategy around that. So your top of the funnel stuff, meaning like that interest grabbing stuff at the top, should just be about that one thing. So, for her, it's pick, if you're talking about just your eyelashes, pick that. Oh, you're going to run a class and you have a class in 45 days and you want to teach how to do eyelashes, make it just about that for this campaign. And then don't send them to a website, send them to a landing page that is just about eyelashes. And so, that's the kind of key to advertising. And then, there's just some simple stuff that business owners miss, like not having a call to action button on your landing page or on even your website, not making it clear what you want them to do. They miss that. Several things. They don't have a website that is mobile optimized or it loads. Here's a big one we're seeing a lot now. People are making their website mobile optimized as far as it looks great, but we run our score using our technology and I'm seeing the load time, over 15 seconds. If you're over 5 seconds, well, first of all, as users, we just get bored and we close out or we think something's wrong. But Google hates it. So if you're actually paying for ads, or you're trying to get organic search or spending any time or resources or money on SEO, and your mobile website is loading in 15 seconds, they're not going to pass you any traffic. And so now you're thinking that like maybe this campaign we're running just isn't working. It may be working, but Google's not passing any traffic because you're not loading fast enough. So there's some really technical low-hanging fruit things like having call to action buttons, like having a website that loads in under 3 seconds. Those are like the basics. And then the advanced is picking a niche, getting really good at that niche, and then making sure your campaign from beginning to end is about that niche. Without getting them sidetracked on the 12 other things that you could do. It's about finding the smaller group of clients that want that one thing and then being the best at that one thing.
Well, and I think it's interesting that, so to add to what Rhett was just saying, I would actually think that part of it is ego of a business owner, that they're very inward focused. And what do I mean by that? Like they've gone through hell to get their business to where it's at today. So they market the way that they think would attract their type of customer. But the power of marketing is you can do different A/B tests. And not to get technical, but to Rhett's point, pick a couple of niches, one that you really think are your customers, and then maybe one that you kind of have a theory around, and do different images or do different taglines. See which one works, because you don't have to wait 6 months to understand that. You can wait 2 weeks with the power of digital marketing. And now all of a sudden, it's not like, I kind of love being proven wrong as a marketer, because that means that, ideally, we're letting the marketing work for us versus trying to make us be the marketer. So I want the marketing to work for me more. And I think so many business owners want that control that they end up losing sight of like the purpose of it, which is you just want more customers in the door. Doesn't matter who has the best idea. It's the idea that wins. So you got to remove ego a little bit. And it's hard being a small business owner because you fight so darn hard for it. But I would recommend everyone to kind of check it at the door.
Hey there, Tycoons. Austin Peterson here, host of Tycoons of Small Biz and co-founder of Backbone Planning Partners. If you're listening to the program and you're wondering how you could also be a guest on our program, please reach out to us at backboneplanning.com. We'd love to have a conversation with you to see if it's mutually a good fit to have you on the program. And also, if you're thinking about your business and what we do at Backbone Planning Partners and helping our business owners to plan for their biggest asset, that being their business, and want to understand what it's worth and how that's beneficial to you in your financial planning journey, please also reach out to us at backboneplanning.com, and we'd be happy to provide a no-obligation, informal valuation of your business. We look forward to hearing from you, and thanks for listening to the show today.
I agree. I think it's funny. Everything you guys have talked about, I'm sure you guys are familiar with this, but the score reminds me of LinkedIn Sales Navigator, which I use. We use it in our business. It's actually how we connected with you guys and got connected to have you guys on the program. So that's one thing. But if you look at it, it does give you a score, and they've got their 4 different criteria and different things that you need to do to kind of boost your score. I forget what it's called. Anyways, whatever score out of 100, right? And here's the thing, like we do, I think, a pretty good job. I would hate for you guys to plug in Backbone Planning Partners or Tycoons of Small Biz into your software program and tell us how we really do, right? But the one thing that I do know that we do pretty well is we get guests on this program every single week, and it's almost exclusively through LinkedIn or personal introductions from people that were either past guests or from a PR firm that had a guest on, that sort of thing. And so, we're doing obviously a decent job, and we do track that conversion. But I guess for somebody who has an online presence, so not us, I'm just saying there are companies out there that have a decent online presence, that have a number of followers, that have landing pages with call to actions, but they're still not getting very good conversion. Like what's the next step for those people? Is it engaging you guys or a firm like yours, or are there still some of those do-it-yourself type things they can do? What would you say to a firm that's in that position?
It's all about just having a system in place to, like Jonathan said, test and reiterate. The faster you can test, get results, which we use kind of 2 weeks with our clients, implement a campaign, put a little money towards it, test. Now, what are you testing? It's about, if you're doing it yourself, how much can you handle yourself? If you're using an agency or a service like ours, there's, you can A/B test a copy on the landing page. You can A/B test imagery. You can A/B test the ads on Facebook or Google or YouTube. and so you can A/B test a million things. It's how much are you really comfortable with, and obviously the more advanced you're doing and how much more you're spending, your cost is going to go up. But get the building blocks in place, make sure all that tracking and everything else is done, and then just deciding, hey, like Jonathan said, a lot of times when we A/B test something, the business owner's ego gets involved and they want to A/B test kind of the same thing. And it's like that, like he said, we love it when we get a clear answer, because that means, oh my God, we're on the right path here. Like, let's go down that path. We have a clear winner. It's really difficult when you run an A/B test and it's like 51% to 49. That's kind of on us. We were like, okay, we got our own way here. We kind of just made a test that was in the same direction. We didn't make it difficult enough to really get an answer. Are we on the right path? Then when you get that right path, then you can start A/B testing more detailed things like imagery and titles and things like that. But, like he said, I think just overall, it's having a system in place. Ours is a great starter. Look, you can go upgraded services like, my soon-to-be father-in-law, he has a real estate company and they're spending $5,000 a month. We don't market for real estate companies or realtors, but the building blocks are not in place. And they don't have a system in place to be testing this quickly. So they're on month 3 spending $5,000 a month, and he really doesn't have any answers, and he doesn't know if they're improving or what's worked and what doesn't. So you could go to somebody like us that's less than $1,000 a month and figure out those answers a lot more quickly. And then after, hopefully with us, you're getting an ROI, you don't want to leave. But there are also companies that like, hey, look, they want to like have huge budgets and use huge agency type services. Great. You got the testing in place with us. You're launching off. Maybe you want to keep that going, but you want to take it to the next level, or you're just in an industry that we don't work with. That's fine, but you got to have that system in place to implement. Look at the results, reiterate 2 weeks later, and just got to have that system every 2. If you wait 3 months, you're like he did, wasting $15,000 with not much to show for it.
Well, no,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, I'm listening to Rhett, and for listeners, I'm passionate about this because I have 2 brothers that are in the small business world, and I think about the things that the 4 of us are talking about, and I'll just throw it out right now. My older brother would probably call me a nerd because he's like, "Oh yeah, that's not marketing, right?" But the reality is that this is what small business owners need to start to educate and understand on what is actually required moving forward. Like, it's not about just having that great product and service. It is starting to understand that, your phone is now your retail window. Your phone is now your brand. And so the way that you show up on phone, desktop, everywhere, that's all coming from analytics and A/B testing and the things that we're talking about. Yes, you need a really strong brand, and yes, you need that presence. But I would just, you can get started without feeling intimidated about it, right? And that's really what, our mission is to help people get started. And to your point, the person who maybe is, doing the A/B testing and everything like that, we're also okay with saying, hey, you should do a marketing agency. You don't need Business Warrior right now. Use Business Warrior to gut check your marketing agency. Like, we're okay with turning away business if it's not meant for us and not meant for you. So just get started on understanding it. I think that's the big thing is once you get there, then it doesn't have to be so scary. It doesn't have to be so nerdy.
Well, I think that's a big deal, the way that you guys have said that, because I would venture to guess that 99% of the people listening to this program have done some sort of marketing in the past. They've either engaged somebody to do it for them or they've tried to do it themselves. And if they've engaged somebody to do it for them, there's very rarely some sort of a tracking mechanism in place, right? I mean, they're having a conversation with that marketing firm and they're saying, we've been paying you $1,500 a month, to go back to your example earlier, $1,500 a month for 6 months. And I can't track any leads from what you're doing. And the response typically from the marketing firm at that point is, well, we're building your brand. We're not generating leads, right? And I think that business owners are tired of hearing that response.
Yeah.
And you guys are giving a different response, right? Like, after 2 weeks, we should be able to track if something's working. And if not, we switch and do something a little bit different. And you go tighter on a niche, or you understand that, that's really not a great place to be picking up clients. There's action steps along the way.
The 6 month mark is still a good goal for ROI.
Yeah, agreed.
You got to I wouldn't pick any contract or anything like that. You got to give them 6 months, but I do use the 2 week mark. If you're not seeing them making changes every 2 weeks, so it's probably 30 to 60 days to get something launched. And so then by month 3, it should be every 2 weeks iterating. And then really months 3 to 6, which should be seeing consistent improvement so that you can see that light at the end of the tunnel when, those costs and that profitability crosses and you're seeing that return. But if you're in month 4 and you're not seeing the improvement and you're not seeing the iteration, bail.
It is a little bit like weight loss. The first 30 days, you don't lose a lot of weight, right? But man, if you're consistent about it, which is what we're talking about so much, if you're not losing weight after 60 days, you should probably fire your trainer. You should probably fire your marketing group if you're not seeing results after 60 days.
Yeah, well, that's really not a problem for me.
Some Park City guns right there. That's awesome.
Yeah.
The other side of this whole thing too is just most business owners just don't know their numbers, quite honestly, and they don't know how to leverage cash flow, and they scrape and fight, but they're not good at accounting. I know you guys work closely in that industry, but we see it all the time. They just don't know. And most small business owners, they run their personal lives out of their business too. So, how can you make decisions when all that stuff is intertwined? Well, they get by and they do, and they figure out a way. But when it comes to okay, I need to carve out whatever it is, $1,000 a month or $3,000 a month for advertising, I can't do that. When we know, all they need to do is really get tight in their numbers and have some clear goals, have some clear management processes in, actually watch their numbers on a month-to-month basis, things open up. And so we kind of known that as well. The other piece to what we're doing at Business Warrior is it always has driven me crazy when a business owner finally reaches that point when they're ready to take their business to the next level, but their credit cards are probably maxed, but they finally have it figured out. They can get new customers, whether they're using us or not. They're ready to take their business to the next level, but they're wait, now I don't have access to cash. And because all their personal finances or business finances are all intertwined, they can't get loans or anything else. They really have had a lack of options. So we've been working really hard to actually launch our own loan lending program that's coming out probably end of October. So we're super excited. We're using, a really new way to underwrite businesses using their most recent success, not, old traditional ways of just being solely reliant on FICO and that kind of thing, or assets like a house and have to put up your house and all these other things. So you're talking unsecured credit loans from 5 to 50,000, and really getting these businesses oh my God, they're seeing ROI on ads, but they don't have any cash to grow. Well, we have the data; we can see that. Wouldn't it be nice to offer them a fairly priced loan? Yeah. I don't think there's many fairly priced options out there for small businesses right now. They can get an SBA loan from their bank, which is next to impossible to get. That takes 90 to 120 days, or they can take the last resort, which is a cash advance, which is basically predatory lending at 40 to 60% interest rate. What's in between? I haven't seen it. So we're launching that. So we've been building that for the last few months, and we're pretty excited to launch that here coming up soon too.
There's actually a funny story about that, which is coming from corporate America. You spend your life building your personal credit up, and then Rhett and I was that entrepreneur life, and I applied for a small business loan for our former business, and we got declined from the bank, and I was like, but no, that doesn't make sense. Why would that be the case? And it was such a shocking experience coming from thinking that you as an individual have good credit, but the bank looks at you still as a risk. And quite honestly, how many small business owners put their whole life and personal credit into it and then still get turned down? I'm just, Rhett and I are both tired of it, right? They deserve to unlock their happiness. No, they don't get $100,000 every single time, but they should get the opportunity to get some money without automatically getting declined from the bank. So, we're our next phase of that is really turning that whole experience around. I don't want anybody to feel like I did, 5 years ago. So it was an eye-opening experience for me, man.
Yeah, It is very interesting that, if you've got a job, a W-2 job making, $100,000 a year, you can go out and purchase a $500,000 house, probably no problem. But then you quit your job and you want to get a $50,000 or $100,000 loan to start a business, and they're like, no freaking way, get the heck out of here. Yeah,
or even if your business is doing the same amount, your business could be doing 150 grand, and you're not even asking for 500. You just want 50. Like,
right?
No chance.
Right. And to Jonathan's point, the only thing in between the SBA and the predators is really like family and friends.
And you can only ask your family for so much money.
Eventually, they stop answering your phone calls because they know why you're calling, so.
Yeah.
But I love what you guys are doing. Austin and I have had several successful marketing, SEO firms and the like come onto the program, and they do a fantastic job at what they do. But I love that you guys, your approach is different. And I would imagine that your customer base is a little bit different as well. So talk to us a little bit about like what's a typical customer look like for Business Warrior? Maybe you can speak to, length in business, number of employees, revenue, whatever is kind of relevant.
Typically, yeah, it's an owner operator, so they're very involved in the business. They're not quite. It's more than a side hustle for them. This is their primary business. This is their lifeblood. They're also they actually probably have at least a couple employees. So I would say 3+ employees, but they're not at the stage where they're doing $500,000 a year and they can afford to pay their own person to do just advertising or just look at technology. They're still trying to handle that themselves. A lot of them have like a family member doing it, or one of those employees is doing like spending 10% of their time on technology and website and things like that. And then, industry type, we're, like I said, we're the owner operator service area businesses, some retail. We're not great at e-commerce, or we just don't focus on e-commerce. We don't focus on real estate. So we have a lot of salons. We have a lot of service area businesses, pest control guys,
AC repair. Yep.
Yeah, HVAC, pool guys.
I would say one of the up and coming is kind of like go ahead. I think
some tax and accounting firms as well, because they're great at running the numbers, running the business, but they typically don't know or don't want to spend any time setting up their website or marketing, right? So that kind of like that's the consistent theme. Is they usually are really passionate about that one thing in their business, but marketing and website is not it, but they need it. But they don't, it's where you let the e-commerce guys for somebody else, because they really, if you're running an e-commerce store, you really need to be paying somebody, $5,000 a month or more to just run your store. That is your lifeblood. Like our software is not going to be enough. You need somebody doing that 100%, and they need to have their own, 10 set of tools. And we may be one of those tools that they use, but that's not our target. But everybody else, in between side hustle and them is us.
And definitely your sister-in-law in California. So it would be like that hybrid boutique that's like figuring out online. So, that is a new generation of business owners. They may have a brick and mortar, but they're, still debating on how much do you go online versus how do you have that experience? Like that is who we are perfect for, because we're able to quickly get them measured and then accelerate their needs. So yeah, definitely your sister or sister-in-law. Sorry.
Sister.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, so we're quickly running out of time, but I can't let you guys get off the program without talking about what you guys just kind of slipped in at the end of our pre-qualification call, and that's the fact that you guys have recently gone public. So we'd love to hear the story behind that, how you guys did it, how that came about, why you did it. I'm sure there are some listeners that would appreciate hearing that story.
Yeah, I mean, we decided to, build this software platform and, really had huge plans to really scale. And, but when you have a SaaS platform, you need some funding. Jonathan and I basically had funded this by ourselves along with some friends and family, but to take it to the next level, it was how we're going to get some outside funding. So, started going the route with VCs and past investors that I had known from my past business. And it just, it was so time consuming and exhausting. And when it came down to really talking to the nitty gritty of a deal, it looks like we're going to give up anywhere from 40 to 70% of the company. And that still may be okay if you're getting the right amount of funding to, give up a chunk of your company. But then what comes with it? What kind of controls do they want? And immediately it was like, oh, use this company for this and use it. And it was like, no, we had a plan. We were very clear on what needed to get built. We had the team in place. We really just needed the right partner. So we went this other route, doing a reverse merger, which is funny. SPACs are like the big thing in magazines and news now. So reverse merger is kind of like that, but different. So we reversed into an existing public company, took it over. I became chairman of the board, and then we also inherited a nice group of existing shareholders, and they're super happy now because, it was less than a penny before that. And, now we're at 23 cents or whatever. So they've all made a good chunk. But so we went through that, and then we also finished that merger on January 31st of 20, and COVID really started hitting us hard, February, March, April. So all of the financing plans that we had kind of lined up post-merger just got delayed like crazy. So, nobody was working at the SEC and things were shut down. And so we went through all of that. But in the end, it worked. So we filed to get a Regulation A approved. We had some amazing success at the company. So really the time that we got delayed because of COVID let us really mature as a company, improve our software. We got traction in the market. Our products and solutions got better. We put up great results. The Regulation A, which is like a financing medium, got approved. We found a great partner who was going to fund our Regulation A. I would say at the beginning of COVID was vastly different than the one we chose later on. It went from, having to maybe choose a shark, which would be similar to the VC world, to somebody that's really a great partner for us, that's in it for the long haul. And so it all worked out in the end. We're still a startup. We still have, I'd say just under 15 employees. So we still have that startup mentality, but we're, stacked with cash right now so we can build the product that we want. We've beefed up the infrastructure, the security behind the product. We've added so many members of the team. So we've really been able to take this really unique route of going public, getting a Reg A approved by the SEC, finding the right partner, having success along the way, and it all just kind of turned out in our favor. So things are good right now. We're pretty happy and blessed, grateful.
Yeah, that's a really cool story because I've personally never had a conversation with somebody who's done a reverse merger, right? It's uncommon. It's not something that comes up every day. It's a very strange way to go public, right? But it worked for you guys. And it sounds like it was a really cool opportunity that, I'm sure it didn't fall into your lap, but, almost kind of fell into your lap.
No, it was a big risk at the time. You save a lot of money doing it this route from the traditional going public route. You save a lot of money. The difference between a reverse merger and a SPAC is a SPAC gets a group of people, they put a bunch of money together and they create a new company that's public and they have all this money, but they don't have any real operating company behind it yet. So they do the money first. So the only difference is we merged with a company. We had the operating company and then we went and got the financing afterwards. But it's very similar. It's kind of, merging into a public entity and then taking over that entity. But either way, when you're public, you got to have a plan. You got to hit your plan. You got to hit your numbers and you got to execute. And then you got to be good at communicating that plan to the public. And so if you don't have the right, team or resources, in place to do that, then, you're going to fail, whether you're a heavily funded SPAC or you're a reverse merger, scraping by to fight another day.
Yeah, I think Landon mentioned at some point you're always having to report to your family and friends that invested in the company, but that seems like a cakewalk once it's time to actually report to shareholders on a quarterly basis. So,
well, the nice thing about the friends and family now is they can just look on their stock app and see what the price is, and right now everybody's pretty happy, including us.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. I like the greens. Greens are good.
Green is good. Yeah. Hey, I'll just throw this out here, okay? We did have one other company come on here that was public, and we didn't know about it until we had our initial call with them. And we actually had lunch with him the other day, and we were just totally joking. And we said, hey, we just did some back of the napkin math, and when you came on the show, your stock was at X, and now it's up about, I think it was like 70% or something like that. And they're a really small public company, in relation to other ones. But so we'll be happy to track your progress the next 6 to 12 months and see how this translates to some good growth for you guys. But
yes, love it. Add BZWR to your stock tracking app for sure.
Right.
The power of Tycoons of Small Biz.
That's right.
Pushing price.
What's the price right now? Let's see what happens, right?
Yeah. Looks like it's 22 cents even.
All right.
So for the record, 22 cents even. All right, guys. Well, we are officially out of time, but really enjoyed the conversation with you guys. Clearly, you're doing some great things in your business and for the business owner clients that you guys are serving. What's the best way for people to track you guys down if they want to get some more information or connect with you?
BusinessWarrior.com.
Pure and simple.
Just
Easy.
like it's spelled.
Yeah.
BusinessWarrior.com.
You just click on a free trial. Like I said, you'll start to get some value just by throwing your business in there. And if you're an investor and you just want to buy stock, you can go to our investors page. It says what platforms you can buy stock. Go on there like E-Trade. You just go plug in BZWR and buy some stock. Otherwise, at the top, click to start a free trial. Throw your business in there. You're not committed to anything. You'll start to get some data about your business, and then it's pretty self-explanatory from there.
Easy enough. Yeah. All right, gentlemen. Well, we look forward to watching you guys and following your success. And let's make sure we have you back on here in six or 12 months, and you guys can give us an update on how things are going.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
I really appreciate today.
So
awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
You've been listening to Tycoons of Small Biz, proudly hosted by Austin Peterson and Landon Mance. Austin and Landon are comprehensive financial planning professionals specializing in financial, estate, and succession planning for small business owners. Austin and Landon have offices in Scottsdale, Arizona, and Las Vegas, Nevada, and represent clients in 14 states throughout the country. Join Austin, Landon, and the featured Tycoons live every Tuesday at 1 p.m. right here on Business RadioX and your favorite